Hi Richard, and welcome to the SupaStarters Podcast. Nice to meet you. And we met through Twitter, and I saw that you're working on a startup called Evoke app, which basically helps you to run AI models on the cloud. And I saw this; it's a really interesting project, and people would be interested to learn more about exactly how it works. What you're building, at what stage you are. If you are profitable or not yet. What are your plans, and so on. So, yeah. So,
Yeah, for sure.
uh,
Yeah, good to meet
so
you too, Fareed. So I can give a short introduction about Evoke. What it basically is as you said, it we host open source AI models on the cloud, and how it works is we host them on AWS servers. And when someone wants to say use an AI in one of their apps, all they have to do is call the API. So they just sign up, create an account, add their payment info, and they can get a key, like an API key. So if you're familiar with like GPT-3 and using OpenAI to like create any of your apps, you'd be familiar with how an API works. But this one is just for image generation. So we host currently Stable Diffusion right now. And can implement it into your app pretty easily with their API. But we do have plans to have other models in the future, like other Stable Diffusion models that produce different images, as well as Dream Booth, and also just other AI models in general. And yeah, it's like one of our main benefits is that there's some right now. There's a pretty popular one that actually is a subscription model, but we do pay as you go. So it's much more like flexible pricing. So yeah, that's basically how Evoke works. It's basically just making it much easier for people to build AI apps, so they don't have to
mm,
manage cloud hosting themselves.
yeah, yeah, that's actually like it was. I think that's pretty cool, and also it was very interesting personally to me as well because I have built a Chrome extension using OpenAI API, but I was using their DaVinci 3 text model, and that is pretty straightforward because they have APIs and so on. But when it comes to Stable Diffusion, they don't provide automatic APIs, and you that's what you do, right? So basically, what Open AI does for their text models, you do the same for Stable Diffusion, where you just provide APIs and people can use them to, I don't know, send images, get images, and so on. Is that correct? Is that how it
Yes, that
works?
is correct. Yeah. Because OpenAI actually has an image model as well. It's called DALI. I believe
Yeah,
it's DALI 2 now.
yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah.
the main issue is it's like much more expensive. I believe it's like 2 cents per image. And this stuff is getting pretty cheap now with like image generation because 2 cents per image is actually considered pretty expensive. And it also has some pretty extensive censorship like flags. So if you like type something in that they don't approve of, then they can ban your account or it'll just block the generation. And it's stricter than the other ones. So those are like some of the main issues with DALI. And you've probably seen like other Stable Diffusion APIs as well. There's a lot that are popping up now. There's definitely benefits from Stable Diffusion over DALI, and plus like being able to select other models as well because it's open. Stable Diffusion is open source. It's also pretty useful. I don't know how many of your listeners like know about Stable Diffusion. Do you want me to give you like a quick overview because I think it might be like useful for them. A quick
Yeah,
crash
just give a
course.
quick overview. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, for sure. So, you know about AI art and AI image generation. You've probably seen like Midjourney and stuff. Stable Diffusion is one of those. It was released in like I believe August 2022 by Stability AI. And basically, it just works just like any of the other AI image generators. You can type in text and it produces an image. But the main benefit is, as mentioned before, it's open source. So a lot of people they've like manipulated it a lot. They've made like other models with it. There's something you can do called fine tuning, where you train an AI model that's already been trained. You can train it further, and you can do that with something called Dream Booth. And what that does is it produces other models of Stable Diffusion that have different generations. Like you've probably seen like anime models before, where like you type in some text, and it produces like an anime character. You might see like realistic generations where it's like great at generating landscapes or like realistic people. So there's like a bunch of different things you can do. It's much more modular with Stable Diffusion, and just overall, it's basically a more versatile like AI image generator, and that's why so many businesses are popping up around it.
And so basically, all of these AI avatar tools. I think they're also using Stable Diffusion, right? I guess so.
Yeah, I can give
So,
you like a pretty quick overview of how they work. So not exactly stable diffusion like text to image, but more so something called Dream Booth, as I mentioned before. So how it basically works is
I'm
with
sorry.
Dream
What
Booth.
is Drimbus is part of Stable
Yes.
Diffusion, or okay?
Oh, I can describe it. Yeah. So Dream Booth basically it's a I believe it was a method of fine tuning AIs. You can do it with other AIs as well, but it's been applied to Stable Diffusion, developed by Google, and you can apply this to Stable Diffusion. So basically, you have like 5 images. It's 5 to 20 images, but you can put in more. Though there's some issues with that I won't get into, and it trains the AI on those images basically. So that's how you can get these anime models because basically people label the images like maybe the anime is like pink hair or like tall character or something like that, and they put in a bunch of those into Dream Booth. And with Stable Diffusion, it's not inherently part of Stable Diffusion. This was developed later after the Stable Diffusion release, and then you can train like a model on it, and you can like generate anime characters. So
Mhm.
how these AI avatar generators work is basically they have Dream Booth. Maybe they're connected to an API on their website, and then someone uploads like five. You usually require 5 images or more of your face, and then what
Mhm.
it does is that it trains these. It applies like it applies captions to these images and with Stable Diffusion, and then it trains a model on your face, and then they apply prompts to it. So like maybe it's like space, it's like space themed or like fantasy themed or whatever,
Yeah.
and then you can generate like a bunch of different avatars or like realistic style, cartoon style, and they basically produce like maybe 300 images for you based on a prompt. Based on the trained model they just created, and then usually it's like deleted afterwards. So that's basically how these AI avatar generators work. If you're like building any yourself, there's a variety of APIs available, and we'll soon have that available on Evoke as well. Just something called a Dream Booth API, and yeah, it's definitely like pretty interesting stuff.
That's really interesting, and I think another thing that you also said is that, for example, Dali, you said that they charge like approximately 2 cents per image. How much would
Yeah,
that be, for example, through Evoke app, through your product, basically?
yeah.
How much, yeah, would that cost?
Yeah, so in terms of it, image price depends on different settings. There's different settings you can have, and for the it seems like now the industry standard is something called I can just go into settings later on, but I'll just give you a quick overview. So it's 30 steps, and it's 512 by 512 in terms of dimensions, and
Mhm.
that's around half a cent for Evoke. Because
Mhm.
we do have a pricing model based on like time to generate. So approximately it's half a cent, but it could be like very small
Mhm.
variations here and there. So that's
Okay,
like how much it is for Evoke. So it's much cheaper than Dali, and it's the same quality as
so
well.
it is still
Because
cheaper. It's still cheaper than Dali.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I can go into like some of the settings now because some of your users will like listeners they want to understand like steps or like CFG.
Yeah,
You want me to go
no, no.
into
It's.
that?
I think we should not go
Oh, okay.
too much into technicals. Yeah, because I also want to, because so now that we understand, what it is and how it works more or less. I also want to talk about, in terms of business, like for example, in terms of a marketing as well. I saw that you did a campaign on Product Hunt. I mean, you launched on Product Hunt, and I think you were second of the
Yeah.
day, right? Second product of the day. So I wonder, first of all, how was it for you? Like, did you get any new customers from that, or just users? Did you, get any paid customers? And also, secondly, did you do anything to get to the second place? I mean, did you prepare somehow in advance, or did you just launch and people started watching?
Yeah, for sure. So with our product hunt launch, really the actual development and like release of Evoke, it took quite a while. We started it like 4 months back. Like we just started some ideas for it, and like maybe 2 months back, we actually started developing it. And I discovered Product Hunt pretty early on. I believe I was browsing some like AI subreddit, and someone posted a Product Hunt link, and I found it really interesting. And I saw a bunch of stuff about like how to prepare product hunt launches. So I just decided like I knew like I've discovered early on that the more followers you have, the more people get like notified on product hunt when you
Mhm.
launch. So I just decided since I do have two co-founders by the way. They handle the technical stuff. Since I handle the business and marketing stuff, and there wasn't too much for me to do before they actually like release the product. I focused on just being active on Product Hunt and a few other websites as well, like Indie Hackers and Twitter.
And getting
Honestly, if
new
you're on product
followers,
hunt,
basically.
sorry.
And getting new followers so that they get
Yeah,
notified when you
yeah, just
launch
being
it.
active there. You probably like see me on product hunt because I post quite a bit there, and yeah, just building up followers there. And one interesting thing that happens once
Mhm.
you get really active there is that if you have a LinkedIn in your profile or a Twitter, people will start DMing you and asking for you to support their product hunt launches. And some of them are
Mhm.
really big and really active people, and some of them are like less active. But it doesn't really matter because it takes like 10 seconds to support people. Like you just upvote them and you give
Yeah.
them a comment, and they're really happy about it. So over like the maybe 4 months that I was doing this, I started getting more and more DMs every day, and I would always support them. So then, come launch day, I have like a huge DM list where I'm like, "Hey, I just launched. Would you mind supporting my product?" And it's much more useful there because
So how many
usually
people
people will
did
give
you
back.
message approximately?
Oh yeah, how many people? I think it might have been like upwards to 100 because I collected that much across both LinkedIn and Twitter, like both. Yeah, you can amass quite a few if you just are consistent and active every day on Product Hunt. Because how the algorithm works is I won't go into too far into technical details, but if you're more active and you have more followers and like points, then your vote is worth more and your comments are worth more in terms of engagement. So it's kind of more valuable too. People will like be more likely to message you, and that was the case with me. So definitely got a lot of support from that. But also like posting to other places, like some subreddits, you have to be careful with the rules there though, because some of the mods can get pretty like removal happy if you posting promotional stuff. Some discords I was in as well, and also some like Facebook groups. So definitely got a lot of votes from there. And I can talk about like what the results were from the launch. So but when we launched, it was mostly my goal for the launch. It was actually mainly to get traction from the launch itself, like just for the social proof of like the badge, because it is like you also get put in a newsletter. It's a product newsletter as well if you're in the top 10, I believe. So it wasn't actually just to get users itself from the launch. So I believe we got like 21 like new signups that added like payment methods for the launch. We weren't, because usually
Mhm.
the way how our thing works is that people it's pay per use. It's not a subscription. So we usually people like they sign up and after a while they actually start using it. So we're not sure how much revenue we got from the launch. We got like on the day of the launch we got like 21 new users that added payment methods. So it wasn't it wasn't that impressive, but the main goal here was still achieved because you got this social proof badge. We did get featured in the newsletter because once it got featured in the newsletter, I believe like the next day, like two investors got interested and actually messaged me on Twitter, and then later on, like throughout the week, one other one also emailed me. So this is it's definitely pretty useful in terms of even if you don't get like that many like that much customers from your actual launch, it can have knock on effects that are useful as well. Definitely, especially if you're launching on like a really low competition day. Because I was launching on Saturday during the weekends, there's not a lot of competition. If you do that, then you probably won't get that many visits to your website or conversions, but it's much easier to rank higher. So I'd say that was like an overall just overview of how I did in product and launch and the results from it.
Yeah, I do agree that in Product Hunt, even if you don't get like paying customers, for example, or you get just a few paid customers, it's more important just like the networking effect, the effect that you just started, and also as you said, investors contacted you, so that could be even more important for you in the long run than getting like a few customers, right? And I have launched on Product Hunt actually myself as well before, and I remember I also got like around 100 new users on my first launch. It did kind of okay, and I was also messaging actually quite a lot of people. But I'm just curious, like out of all of the strategies that you did, you said that you posted in some Reddit groups, you DM'd people, or and also like just people organically opening Product Hunt and seeing your like the app. What do you think? Where do you think you got the most upvotes? Like from which channel, basically, out of all of the things that you did? What was the
Yeah,
most effective
so
thing?
Yeah, so in terms of what was most effective, I didn't actually. So I believe someone recommended me to use. There's like link trackers you can use that detects like how many came from where.
Yeah.
I opted not to use that because I believe some like websites or social media sites they don't like link trackers, so they'll actually like the algorithm will punish you or they'll remove the post straight up. So I don't have like exact measurements, but I do have estimates. I believe most of my support probably came from the DMs, because usually they're like warm leads, right? They're warm leads, so you already supported them and they're in your DMs already, so it's a much higher chance. But secondly, it was like second place would probably be from the Facebook groups, because there's a lot of Facebook groups where they're not technically related to your product, but they're basically like product hunt support groups. They're pretty useful as well. And people are usually pretty active in those, but it really depends, because some groups that have a lot of people posting but not really anyone supporting. Like people just post and dip. So I would say probably the top traffic that came to like support came from the came from the DMs, and then probably the Facebook groups, and then everything else like social media posts, usually like Twitter, or if you just post in Facebook groups related to your product but not like related to Product Hunt. I noticed those don't typically do too well, because a lot of people don't even have Product Hunt accounts there. That's also why I opted not to post in like AI related subreddits, because I noticed people just kind of get annoyed there if you post a Product Hunt link, because they have to click like twice to actually get to your website, and it's quite obvious it's like purely promotional to like support like website popularity rather than like for them to get to the product. So if you're posting on like subreddits or Facebook groups, I recommend posting to one specifically regarding Product Hunt rather than things that are like directly related to your product. I find that more useful. So yeah. In conclusion, I'd just say mainly from like DMs.
Okay, so that's going to be really useful for people who are applying to launch soon and they want to prepare for the launch. So that's kind of what I did as well, and I feel like that was the most effective thing for me as well, just DMing people. And I feel like basically it's pretty straightforward. You contact people who are already on Product Hunt. You tell them that you're going to launch soon, and you ask them to upload your product, and then you do the same for them. So it's basically you just help each other. So I think that's pretty that's pretty straightforward. Now, regarding Evoke app, so what type of models do you plan to run there in the future? Do you have any list or?
Yep. Yeah. So, in terms of, I can give you like stable diffusion models and other models as well, like other AI models. So, right now
But is
we
it going
just
to be
have
only
stable.
image, or is it
Oh,
going to
like
be mainly
not even
image?
non-image models. Like it can go into
Yeah,
like
even no
text
models.
models as well, and like yeah, and like computer vision. Yeah. So we have plans for those. So in terms of like other image generation models, there are a few that will mainly look for like demands, like how popular it is. There's a cool website that has a lot of models called Civit AI, and it's like a huge model repository. So usually, where we plan to do is we plan to go on there and see like which ones have the most upvotes and the most popularity, and just get a few of those models on there in terms of other stable diffusion models, because it just follows demand, right? I mean, a really popular one right now is because Midjourney is keeps on holding back on releasing their API or like a non-Discord version of their app.
Mhm.
There's ones in Stable Diffusion that mimic Midjourney. I believe there's one called Midjourney V4 and OpenJourney. We will probably have that one on next, and then any of the other really popular ones. And as for like non-Stable Diffusion stuff, so I guess it's kind of related to Stable Diffusion. But that's Dream Booth, so that's also a pretty obvious one, because a lot of people are looking for like to make their own AI image generator, or their own AI avatar generator, or like a Lensa
Mhm.
clone, like a Lensa competitor. So that'll be next on our list as well. So I'm mainly focusing on image generation at first, but we'll eventually branch out to large language models. So I can go into like that. There's a few open source ones out right now, like that are not like GPT-3 or ChatGPT or OpenAI related. Like there's GPT-J 6B, and there's like GPT Neo X, and a few other ones. But usually in the LLM territory, there's not too many. We plan to get those on as well. So they do kind of fare worse than GPT-3 as a fair warning, but they probably will be priced much cheaper because of that. And they still
Yeah.
have like some other use cases as well. But also like some other lightweight models like computer vision, so like models that can recognize images and caption them, and probably like we might even have like time series models on there. So really, we want to just expand into many more categories of AI that just benefit businesses and help people develop AI apps. But really, right now, we're just trying to fill in the demand for image generation, because it's new,
Yeah.
it's not really that established yet. So
Yeah.
those are mainly our plans for Evoke.
Yeah, I do agree that's probably the right plan for now, because stable diffusion has also use cases. and there are also like many settings, and you probably just need to make sure first of all that all of these settings are stable and they're working. I was wondering, you said that there's a website where you can find a list of all the AI models. What was the website called again?
Yes, it's called civitai.com, I believe. Let me see.
Civit AI.
Yes, hold
Oh,
on,
Civit.
civitai.
Okay, I found it. Okay, I
Yeah,
found it. Yeah.
civitai.com.
The
Yeah,
reason why I was,
fair warning.
uh,
A lot of the
yeah.
models on there are not safe for work, so be wary of that, I guess. But they host
What do
basically
you mean
everything.
by
It's like a huge model
what do you mean
repository.
by not safe for work? You mean they
Oh,
have a
like
lot
they
of
like nudity
bugs or
models, basically, or like yeah, stuff like that.
ah okay, yeah. I'm not surprised people using
Yeah.
that like for that. It's not a surprise. I was wondering if so in terms of AI, there was actually, one thing that I wanted to do for a long time, and I'm just curious if you think, that would be possible. I know you said that you're not the technical founder, but still, you probably know more about this than I do. So imagine if there was an AI model that could kind of analyze your website, the design of your website, and then would tell you what's wrong and what's right on your website, like what can you fix and so on. The reason why I'm asking, because I've been working as a designer like most of my career, and I was just curious. You know how you, for example, if you want to check the speed of your website, you go to like Google Speed or like some other website, and they tell you if your website is fast enough or not, and they give you some ranking. So I was thinking it would be cool to have the same thing for design optimization in general. Like you go, you put in your website, and then it tells you how good is your website in terms of design and in terms of being optimized and so on. Have you seen any models that do something like that, or do you think I haven't used anything like that yet?
Yeah, so something like that, it would be a multimodal AI, so it would require multiple models for something. Unless you're focusing like only on the image of your website. Like you might have
Only on the
like the
UI, for
graphics or
example. Yeah, only on
sorry?
the UI, only on the UI, like user interface.
Oh,
Yeah, but what do you mean by multi-model? What does exactly mean
yeah, so
that?
multimodal as in it's not like clearly defined, but there might be like it does text, but it also does image classification, or it does also
Ah,
like like it does multiple domains. That would be multimodal.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that would usually require multiple models. But if it's just like
But do you think?
UI,
Yeah.
then you could probably like what you would do there is you could probably even do that with YOLO. YOLO is basically like an image classifier AI. It's like a computer vision image classifier. And what you can do is if you train like a YOLO model on a lot of bad websites and good websites, you'd be like, okay, label this as bad, label this as good, and maybe like for this industry this is bad, for this industry that's good, and you give it like a lot of you fine tune it and you train it. Then you could possibly get it to like you grab a screenshot of the website and you put it in the trained model and it tells you like, oh, this is a good or bad website. But I'm not sure how specific it'd be able to like segment things, like say, oh, this is bad in
That's
this area or good in that area, I fix this, fix that. But you might be able to say like this is bad, this is good, because it's based on like a similarity comparison basis.
hmm. So, like for example, let's say let's say on a website, I give it 10 images where the text and the image maybe they are too close. There's almost no spacing between them. Let's say it looks bad because they are too close, for example. And I told the model like 10 times, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, and then I show you like other examples where the spacing is good. So, for example, I focus only on spacing between elements. And do you think So you're telling that I could train this, and then in theory it could tell me whether it's correct or wrong, like whether the spacing between the elements is right.
Yeah, so in terms of that, you could do something like that, but be when there could be like false positives here and there. So maybe in
Mhm.
like some areas you want space like that, but in terms of your training data, if you don't have enough training data, or if the training data is like biased in a way that you probably wouldn't want it to be, then you could also get a lot of false positives where it's like this is white space you want on the website, and then like it says, oh, this is bad because it's too close or too far. So you want to be careful there, because YOLO, like I said before, it's good. It's good at image recognition and it can segment images as well. But you if you want to like, oh, if you might want to have like separate models. So like, oh, you want to have one that
Mhm.
does like, oh, is this spacing good or not, or is the color good or not here or there. If something like that, it might, if you want like to give specific feedback, you might need multiple YOLO models for that. And that would be like relatively complex to design, because that would be more like app design rather than purely just something with AI, because you'd have multiple AIs.
Wow. That's really interesting. I was just curious because I had this idea for some time, but I wasn't sure if it's even possible to do that. I mean, it seems possible, but it also seems very complicated, and that you would need a lot of probably capital and a lot of people who had to train, the AI to understand what's right and what's wrong and so on. But yeah, I was just curious. So yeah. So now regarding Evoke, do you actually are you planning to, I don't know, get into say, any type of accelerator, raise money, or do you have any plans like that?
Yeah. So currently, the co-founders and I, we're in university, so we do have a couple of accelerators on like our university. We're in Canada, so we plan to get into those accelerators. We already applied to some, and I
Yeah,
think at Founders Inc. They have an accelerator as well. I applied to that one as well, but I haven't been actually looking for too many other ones. But I'll definitely like do that like next week, because right now we've mainly been focusing on like just fixing the issues that come up after we've launched. So yeah, we definitely have plans to get into accelerators, because AI is like a pretty hot field right now,
yeah,
especially with like after the release of ChatGPT. So
yeah.
definitely something we're looking forward to.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean, I think it shouldn't be too complicated for you to get into accelerator because the idea obviously it's good, but it's also very useful, especially now when things are very hot around AI. So I think you have really good chances to get into some good accelerator, and not only that, but also getting clients that are ready to pay, because I know that it's not very easy hosting, for example, stable diffusion on your own server. Well, I have heard from some people that it's not very easy, and you just make it very easy. So that's just really nice. And what about marketing? Do you have any other marketing plans? Like you did product hunt launch. Do you have any future steps that you want to do, or
Yeah, so I can give you an overview of what I've done like even before product hunt, because I've marketed in other
yeah?
ways as well, and then what we're planning to do in the future and what we're continuing to do. So in terms of other marketing channels, I
Mhm.
think I mentioned this before. I post a lot, like leave comments on Indie Hackers, Reddit, Product Hunt, Twitter, obviously as well. And what I typically do is I post something relevant to like what the person is asking or saying,
Mhm.
that's like related to my product. And then I usually drop like a self promo at the very end, and usually that's yielded some pretty good results. Like I did that before our launch and built a Discord to like over 2,000 members. So that was definitely pretty useful, and we're going to continue
Mhm.
to do that. So a lot of it's just promotion and organic outreach in social media, and also within a Discord as well. So it's kind of like a shallow funnel. As for what we're planning to do in the future, we're planning to do some paid ads as well, because I noticed some of our competitors, like other APIs, they're starting to run those, and they've seen some. I've seen some success from them, because I see some people mentioning
Yeah.
their products on Reddit after they run APIs. Because even like the SEO in this market, it's just like there's a lot of newcomers here, so it won't be too hard to like break into, because you have like, let's say like a really competitive space, for example, the SEO space.
Mhm.
If you want to like get top ranking on that, well, tough luck, because there's a lot of established competitors there, and their SEO is really good. But this is relatively new, so we're hoping to break into that with like paid search ads. I know like those don't improve your SEO, but they can improve like website traffic, and just overall
Mhm.
just also deal with Google search results. So we're hoping to run some paid search ads, and also might be Twitter or Reddit ads as well, since I know there's a lot of developers on there. And that's what more organic marketing means. I've been doing this before the product hunt launch, and I'm still doing it. But just seeing up and coming AI newsletters or AI tool directories and just submitting to them,
Yeah.
because since this field is so young, a lot of these newsletters will be more than happy to just promote your tool for free. Like you just ask for it and
Yeah.
they'll promote it for free. And the same with the AI tool directories, because those are definitely going to get monetized later on. We're like, oh, if you want to like host your
Mhm.
thing, host your AI on the directory, or get to the already. Actually, some of them are doing something where they'll actually post really slowly, but if you pay them, you can get to the front of the line. Those are going to be like monetized in the future. So it's good to like just just capitalize on that and submit like Evoke to a lot of these AI newsletters and AI tool lists. And actually, something I've been also doing and also planning to do more in the future is to just get Evoke to more AI app building courses. There's one that they're planning to put Evoke into right now. I believe it's Get Inference. You can look it up. They're planning to have an AI course coming out soon, and this is going to be pretty useful because a lot of people, if they're developing apps, they might not have the technical know-how. So this really gets Evoke out to more of those people. Because if someone like an AI app, like an AI like app course builder, or like just like a course in general, promotes Evoke, then that definitely like puts more into the mind of these people. Like, oh yeah, Evoke is really reliable, and they can easily build and maintain AI apps on the back end.
Mm. I like the idea with the course thing. So, you mean like, for example, if someone is creating a course on how to create products with AI, you want to be included in their course, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
okay, that's interesting. I think you also said that, if someone with no technical knowledge. So, for example, I think the Bubble developer community is pretty large, and like like most of them obviously are no code developers. And I don't know if they're like right now if they can use any image generators, but I think that's also another market that you could also tap in basically. All these Bubble developers, I'm sure they want to use some AI things as well, and that would be cool if they if you would market to them as well. I think that would definitely work. And another thing, as you said, for example, I'm not so sure about paid advertisement. Well, of course it depends what type of paid advertisement. For example, I don't know about like doing things on Facebook or Instagram. Not sure how profitable that would be, but maybe obviously like advertising on Google, trying to be the first one when someone's searching, that could be pretty profitable. But that's obvious. All of this requires lots of testing and so on. So that it would be interesting to look at how exactly that works and where you can get the most customers from. But also just what you're doing, for example, just being active on Twitter. Like, how did I learn about Evoke? Just through your Twitter profile. Just when I went to your Twitter profile and saw the link, and that's how I learned about that. So I think that works as well. At least that's what I'm doing right now, for example, for my personal products as well. Nice. So right now you can use Evoke fully and also pay for the product, right?
yes, yes.
Okay, that's nice. Okay, and can you also create like your, as you said, for example, training your own model to, for example, how Lensa, like you
Yeah.
upload your images and then it gives you like your face but in different styles and so on. Can you do that with Evoke, or are the settings
No,
available?
we don't have Dream Booth on there yet, but it's definitely something in our like recent like our the next thing in our roadmap. Because with like the AI avatar generators, with Dream Booth, you can basically create your own Lensa. You just put it through the API, and you can just with some
Mhm.
prompts, you can have it basically do that. It's definitely something we're planning to have in the near future.
No, okay. I also wanted to ask one thing. Do you know what is Hugging Face, the website?
Yes, yes.
What is that about? Because I've been there multiple times and I saw that they have like different AI models, but I don't understand what exactly is their purpose. Is it like a market or what is that?
Yeah. So with Hugging Face, I believe they host a lot more AI. They're like more early in the market, and I believe they do have Stable Diffusion as well. So it kind of works a little bit similarly to Evoke and some of the other API services.
Mhm.
They have the hosted inference API as well. So for them, they host a bunch of AI models, it's like a huge variety of them. But the main issue there is it's kind of like GitHub. It's kind of like running code on GitHub, where there's a bunch of repositories, but they're managed by like people who upload them. So you can really go down at any time. Hugging Face doesn't like bear any responsibility for those models. They're
Ah,
not a company that does it. So it's kind of like
okay.
GitHub for AI models. And I
Mhm.
believe it might be incorrect because it might have changed some things, but their API is also much more expensive, and it's like it's paid based on like time per use. It's based on like per month. It might have been a subscription. That's what I remember the last time I saw it. So it's also like kind of inaccessible to smaller people, people just starting out with AI. So yeah, like a quick description of just GitHub for AI models.
Well, so for example, someone can upload the model of stable diffusions there and try to get clients by trying to get people who would use their GitHub repository, like their
I,
Huffing
I,
Post
I
repository.
I'm not sure if you can like if you get paid because I believe Hugging Face basically takes all of the cut. It's not like YouTube where someone watches your
Mhm.
video, there's an ad, and then you get something.
Why
So I
would
think
you what, why would you host your models there if you're not getting paid anything?
well the open source community like on GitHub, a lot of people open source the code and they upload their code and they
Yeah,
don't
I mean
get paid
open
when people
source,
run their
but
code.
having
So
space is getting paid for your
sorry.
work. I mean, not your work, but I mean, I don't understand obviously open source, but like for example, on Huffing Post, as far as they get paid, right? So they get
Well,
paid as a web.
on Hugging Face, the devs to like upload their models, I don't believe they get paid. All the money goes to Hugging Face when someone runs your model there. People would want to contribute. I mean, the same reason why they contribute on GitHub. Like, I don't think anyone, I don't think you get money if people run your code on GitHub, and it's the same for Hugging Face. So
No, no,
whatever
I don't
reasons.
understand that. Yeah, but I just got confused because I thought, but you have to pay for the to use the model, and you also that it's pretty expensive,
Oh,
right?
to upload the
So
model, you don't have to pay to upload the model.
no,
You
not
pay
up, but
to
to use. For example, if I want to use a model on Huffing
yes,
Face, right?
yeah,
I have to pay to use it. Correct?
yes.
Yeah. So that's the part that got me confused because I thought if you are paying, then I guess Huffing, like, so what was Huffing Face, they get the money,
Yeah,
or yeah.
yeah.
So that's why I was confused. They get the money, and what, like, is it like, are they profitable? Like, are they for profit company? Do they just,
I mean,
that's
they're
why I
a
was
for
confused.
profit, but they're private, so like nobody
Yeah.
knows that. I don't think they've gone public yet. So they're definitely for profit though. So but they do get the money once someone runs the AI models.
Yeah, that's why I was like, okay, if you get the money from when someone runs an AI model, but you get it from other person who uploaded this AI model in the first place. So I think it would make sense to also pay some cut to that person because he uploaded the AI model, and I don't know, like on YouTube where you make a video and you get part of the money. So that's why I was confused. Because on GitHub, for example, you are not paying GitHub to use the repository of other people. You're just cloning them. So that's why I was a little bit confused if the people are also other people also getting their cut. Yeah, I would have to look more into that. But do you think what I said makes sense, or
I mean, in terms of business models, it does seam to make sense, but I mean, it's working pretty well for them. They're not paying the developers
yeah,
to put on the models, and they
yeah,
seem to be doing pretty well. So I think that's definitely an interesting business model, though, where you have something like Hugging Face and people upload their models, but they get a cut of the revenue as well from people running their models. That would be definitely pretty interesting. But
yeah,
I
because
don't
then
think
you're
Hugging Face does
motivated to
that.
make sure that because then you're motivated to make sure that your model works well. Because as you said, for example, having face, they say that they're not liable if the model works incorrect, right? And then if the dev also is getting nothing in terms of money, he's also not very motivated probably to make sure that it works 100% correct. But if he also gets paid, then maybe he will be more motivated to make sure that it's stable and so on. So yeah, that's what I was just curious about. Yeah. But by the way, have you looked into, I don't know, what I'm working on?
I believe I looked at it. I believe I found you on Product Hunt quite a while back, and I looked at it, but I don't remember exactly what it is. Can you give me a quick overview?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I actually launched two products on Product Hunt, but one of them was just a side project. The main one that I'm working on is called Beep. It's a fastest way to provide feedback and instructions on the web. And the way it works is it allows you to create comments on any website, anywhere on the screen, and tag your colleagues. So, for example, you look at your competitor's website and you think that they have a really nice tagline. You quickly just click to create a comment, and you tag your, I don't know, marketing director and be like, hey, look at their tagline, and that person will instantly get the comment, and also will see where the comment is specifically on the website. So it's like, have you seen Figma? Do you know how Figma, how you can
Yes,
leave
Figma.
comments
Yeah.
in Figma? Yeah. So imagine like that, but you can do it on any website, and you can also tag your colleagues, and they will see the comments. They will also see what you told them, and they also get a notification when you tag them. So it's basically to cross communicate with your teammates through different pages to give feedback. You know, if someone opened your landing page, like one of your teammates, and they're like, oh, something is broken here, or just in the dashboard, something is not working, they could just easily, leave a comment and tag the person who's responsible for that. So that's what it basically is. It's, yeah, I don't know. Do you think I explained it well, or?
Yeah, I think yeah, definitely. It feels like a pretty simple tool, so I think it's pretty easy to explain in
Yeah.
general. So you definitely explain it well. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it is pretty simple, but the thing is that it's not something that people are familiar with. That's why it's kind of a new concept. That's why it's a little bit. I feel like people may not understand when I explain, because it's kind of a new thing. So yeah, cool. So I mean, congratulations again on launching a walk app. Hopefully, it works out well for you. But I'm curious. You said that you have like competitors and so on. So who, like, do you have any advantage right now, or are you working to gain some type of advantage over your competitors? Just curious
Yeah.
to learn about.
So yeah, in terms of our competitors, right now, because the market is so early, our competitors aren't too much different from us. Their main advantage would just be like right now, I believe some of them work full time on their project, so they have more time to work. But in terms of like their tech, they're using tech that's available right now that we could also set up if we had like more time to do it. So like just Dream Booth stuff, Stable Diffusion stuff. They're not really like innovating something like super different. So in terms of advantages, I'd say it's too early in the market to say right now. It really depends. It will, to see what happens in the future. But like some of the really big ones, that like indirect competitors, like Hugging Face or like OpenAI, I guess they will be much more different from us, and they have advantages. But at that point, we have advantages over them as well, like the issues I described with Hugging Face. So yeah, in terms of competitors, we're not too different from them right now, and they're not too different from us. And it's really too early in the market to say like how things will progress and what
Yeah,
advantages we'd have.
yeah. I think first of all, from having faced, your main advantage could be that, as you said, you could be more reliable, because what they have, their models are like repositories, and which means something could go wrong. So you could be more reliable, or you could try to be a little bit less expensive, or focus specifically on indie makers, for example. And regarding OpenAI, it's again, it's a different thing, because OpenAI is just hosting their own models, and you can host any open source AI models. So yeah, I think that, like, these two things could definitely be your advantages. Other than that, I would also advise you, obviously, to focus in general. I know that this is mainly for developers, but still, you know I know, like, a lot of companies, their competitive advantages is pretty simple. It's just they have better interface, or they have better user experience, for example. And that type of competitive advantage is actually enough to get clients, because people, when they use the app, they want to feel comfortable using the app. They want to basically feel good when they do that. For example, recently on Twitter, I posted a tweet asking people if they care about using a beautiful app or not. Oh no, someone else posted. I was just commenting if they care about using a beautiful app or not. And I feel like if you're using the app quite often, you interact with it every day, for example, it's obviously better if you interact with it and you feel good about interacting with it, because that would be a kind of a competitive advantage. Because if as a product it doesn't look good, and you don't feel good when you interact it, even if it does the work, it's still like you would still prefer to use the other products where you feel good interacting with it. So I don't know if you did you get what I mean, uh, in that
Yeah,
terms?
I definitely get what you mean. Because with our like with Evoke though, our main like customers would be at least right now developers. So you don't actually have a UI because there's a lot of Stable Diffusion apps right now where they host the models either on a server or they use an API. So a lot
Yeah.
of our customers, I guess, it's an AI image generator, and they have like a really nice UI, a really beautiful UI, and it's accessible to the average person. But since we're focusing on people, even like no code people who are building apps, they we wouldn't have a UI for them. We might have like a really simple UI to test it out, but we won't have like a really advanced one. That's like
Hmm.
I guess it'll be easy to use, but really simple. So I
Hmm.
guess most of the benefits there in terms of easy to use would be just making our API really clean, and having
Yeah.
really clear documentation. And yeah, we've worked on that already and made the documentation pretty clear. And we're hoping to
Mhm.
just expand upon that in the future. We add more features just to make sure like, people don't get really confused when using it.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously. I mean, user experience is not only the picture, but it's also like, as you said, the documentation and also how easy to use the product, like the API, like endpoints and so on. How easy is it to use them and so on. So right now, as far as I understand, you provide the API endpoints, right? So
Yeah.
that's okay. Cool. Nice. Good. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to share? Because I feel like I asked all the questions that I had. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to share.
I guess not really anything else. I mentioned like everything I could about Evoke. It the concept is pretty simple, although it's pretty new right now with a lot of the Stable Diffusion stuff coming out. But yeah, it's pretty simple. We basically host AI models. You can run them for your app,
Yeah.
and it's just that really for now at least. I can go to a little bit of the story because that's like I think that your listeners might find that pretty interesting
Yeah.
because how we started was
Yeah.
basically like my co-founder. He worked at this company and he had to work with an AI called Instant NGP, and it's
Mhm.
something developed by NVIDIA. So what it basically does is a quick overview. You take a picture and you put it through the AI, and it generates like a 3D render of the image, and it's pretty advanced. But it was really
What,
hard to actually
what do you mean
use.
by 3D? Like
Yeah,
you
like
like image of the room and it generates a 3D view of the
yeah,
room, or
like it could be a room or it could be like a person in a room, and you can generate like a 3D, like a 3D render would be, in Blender you can make like sculptures. It would
Mhm.
generate like that of like the person, and just like a
That's pretty cool.
360 view.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can look at a yeah instant NGP. It is pretty cool. And he used it. He had to use it on his computer, and it was just really hard to set up. Like there's a video on it of how to set it up. It's 45 minutes long, but that's edited content. So the actually
Wow.
like pausing the video and getting it up, I think he took like a week to set it up. It was just so tedious. So he was like, "Why isn't there a service to like just run this in the cloud?" And then
Yeah.
someone sends like an API call or something, and it returns something back. And that's basically how we just decided to start out with Evoke. We actually found out later on they have a really restrictive use license. You can't use it commercially. I think you can apply to like ask them like if you can use it commercially or something and give you like a special license, but you can't use it
Mhm.
commercially. So we thought like, oh, that's a problem. We discovered like Stable Diffusion quickly after that. So that's basically what we went with.
Ah,
We had
so
other plans
stable
later
diffusion
on.
wasn't your first choice, right?
Yeah, it wasn't our first. Yeah, it wasn't our
Okay.
yeah. Stable Diffusion wasn't our first choice. Instant NGP was, and then we later was like we were later like yeah we can't use Instant NGP, so we use Stable Diffusion.
Yeah.
And that's basically how we started.
Well, I think that's a good story because most of the startups that do well, they start from a real problem that one of the founders had. Because some products they are started just because someone thinks it's a cool idea, and not because they think it's a real problem or anything like that. So I think in your case, it's a good story basically, especially to tell investors or anyone who may get
Yep,
interested, because that shows that the idea and the story is real, and you're doing that because there was a reason why you decided to do that. So that's
yep,
pretty cool. Good. Yeah, I mean, we are almost. It has been almost 50 minutes since we started talking. I think it was pretty interesting and very informative, especially about AI and for people who want to do, anything with AI. And hopefully, I will see you running more AI models. And if I do anything with AI, I would be looking into, also using a walk, because I actually, when I saw this, AI avatar generators like Lensa and so on. I don't know. I just really wanted to do something similar, but maybe a bit different. But then when I was researching how to set up stable diffusion, and there weren't really straightforward tutorials or anything like that. And I don't know. I found a lot of articles, but it all seemed very complicated. So that's why when I saw this, I was like, oh, okay, that's actually pretty cool because it was solving my problem as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
good.
definitely.
Um, yeah. So I think on that note, we can probably end the podcast. And I will click stop, but don't close the tab yet. Okay, we will
Oh,
see
okay.
if it still has to upload. Okay, so it was nice talking to you. I will also put in the very beginning of the video, our Twitter handles and so on. So if people want to
Yeah.
contact you and talk to you, that they can DM you as well. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.